What's good, listeners? Our guest on Just Talking is Benny Pough, a veteran music industry executive who has shaped the sound and culture of music worldwide for nearly 30 years, delivering radio hits for superstar artists such as Jay-Z, Rihanna, Travis Scott, and Future, to name a few, is here live on the Chris Collins Show, Millennial Talk Show. How you doing, Benny?
What's the word?
What's the word? You tell me what's good, my man.
Hi.
grinding.
Yes, always the grinding. That life.
Hey, that's what's up, Betty. You know, I'm looking forward to reading your new book on impact, life, leadership, and betting on yourself. And it's come to my attention that the title of your book on impact has a bigger meaning. So let the CCS family know what's good.
So, you know, what's thank you for having me first and foremost and sharing my story with your audience. I was in a near-death car accident in 2014 where I hit a tree as a passenger at 90 miles an hour, sustained a level 2 concussion. That's when you black out between 1 and 5 minutes. L3, L4 vertebrae fracture, bulging disc in my back, lacerated liver that led me to lose half my blood supply. And we hit the tree so hard that it severed 2 feet of my small intestine. And in that moment, God put a book inside of me called On Impact. And impact is an acronym for intuition, mastery, pivot, authenticity, connection, and teamwork. And it takes the reader,
That's nice. Yeah.
Yes.
Damn.
Takes the reader through my journey. Takes the reader through my journey from 11 years old to modern day with an undercurrent of music. And I feel that not only because I'm the author of the book, but I feel the book is valuable to people because I can reach everyone where they're at because I've gone from being paperboy to president and intern to CEO.
Yeah, you know what? But what I did find kind of interesting about you, Benny, was you were a paper boy, but then I heard you were a stand-up comedian at one point, which is pretty funny. Do you remember some of the jokes that you used to do?
Obviously, if I did, I wouldn't be here with you because I'd be way better at it. Yo, it's a hard grind, bro.
Hey, it's so hard. I tried to do stand-up comedian. I'll be honest, I tried, and I did like 2 shows, and I was like, wow, this is a lot harder than I expected. Like, I gave kudos to every stand-up comedian because it is like that is a lot of time to put jokes in, keep relevant, be funny, right? That is so hard.
Oh, no, it's so true. And I know, Benny, the reason why I'm bringing your stand-up career into the mix is because it's my understanding that you were discovered by a young gal who was in the stand-up comedy scene, and she worked for Motown Records, and she essentially told you, hey, you know, I got this internship spot. I want you to join into the mix. How much did your life change after this?
Man, it changed 720 maybe 360 times, right? You know, I'm probably one of the few people who never had aspirations of being into entertainment and then music. So, you know, I'm a big believer of faith and destiny and frequency, and I was drawn to this opportunity simply by chance. You know, someone booked me for a show to perform for a whopping $25, and I took it, right? And just so happened, you never know who's going to be in the audience watching you. So when at the end of the show, she was, you know, pretty thrilled with the performance and asked me what I was doing and what was next, and hadn't prepared for it. So she said, come on down and be my intern. So going into Motown opened the door for me because before I got into the music business, I was a salesperson. So my skills, I had a skill set that was, you know, indicative for the environment that I was in. So it was, you know, just a different means of providing for myself. And I saw a lot of gaps and opportunities in the music business that I could actually, you know, press on and move forward.
That's amazing, Benny. And I know you started off at Motown Records and then eventually you went to Death Row Records, correct?
No, so I went from Motown. Right. I had that. That was my introduction. Then I went to Perspective, worked for Jimmy Jam and Terry Lewis. Those were the Janet Jackson guys.
Okay,
yeah.
Okay.
Right. They did all of those albums. Then I went from there to Arista Record and moved to Washington, D.C., which I was the first one to put Monica on the radio. WCDX in Richmond, Virginia.
Oh, wow.
First with Usher when he was 14 years old. Goody Mob, which CeeLo Green actually came out of that. And, you know,
I love CeeLo Green. Sorry, that's like,
he's awesome.
Huge fan of him.
Yeah. Then moved on from there. I went to MCA Records with Shaggy. You remember that? Wasn't me.
It wasn't me.
That came out of that my time there. Then Casey and JoJo All My Life, The Wedding Classic. You know, that was my run during that period. Then I went to Def Jam Records.
No, Def Jam, my apologies.
Def Jam, and it was an incredible opportunity because I met some of the biggest artists in the world. Mariah Carey, that's when the Emancipation of Mimi came out, which was one of the biggest records, and realized she dropped the Christmas classic right now.
That is still number one hit.
Yes.
That is still
Right?
like,
Isn't that
all this
insane?
time later.
Mariah owned Christmas.
She does. She does.
Ain't that the truth? It ain't gonna be changing
Mariah
for another
owns
50 years.
Christmas.
Isn't that the truth, man? And I know you were also the former president of Roc Nation Music, and I know the CCS family's got to be wondering, like, how did you transition into this role? I mean, obviously, clearly, you know, Roc Nation's got that amazing partnership up with the NFL to be hosting all the halftime shows moving forward. So how did you get into the mix?
Well, our relationship was fostered at Def Jam. And then as time went by, when, you know, they came and tapped me to come work in their music division as the president of their music department, it was a natural fit, and it was great. You know, we had some really big success, created some new ventures. And, you know, that's when I decided that for me at that point in my life, it was time to pivot. And, you know, after having success for a lot of other folks in creating and marketing and developing, it's like, you know what, I'm going to step out and bet on myself. Life, leadership, and betting on yourself is the title. That's the subtitle of the book. So I got to live it if I'm going to say it. And
yeah, that's right, baby. No, I like that.
Yeah.
You know, and one of the things that I saw online about you, Benny, was you compare the music industry to tech companies. I didn't quite understand that. So what do you mean by that?
So that goes back. So in the book, I talk about when I was an internship, when I had the internship, I went in a three-piece suit. And you have to realize record companies, if you've never been to one, the attire and the vibe and the feel is the equivalent of tech companies. People are dressed cool. People just, you know, it's open space, thinking, creative. So that's what the relationship is.
I wouldn't have thought that. I would have thought it would have been
Absolutely,
actually a little bit more corporate stuffy. You're running big numbers, big
'cause
money. So I wouldn't have.
But nobody sees those people. We keep them hidden.
Right, and they're
Yeah,
not-
but
they're
you
in
know,
that
you got
closet,
people,
right?
Yeah,
but I gotta say though, Benny, you got
vibing
people
on
like
music.
Jordan Peterson who are against those kind of ideas. You know, he's been kind of talking recently about how people who are just not dressing up classy when it comes to the workforce. What do you say to people like that?
Hey, listen, you know what? The clothes are only the outer. Obviously, everything starts within. And people are going to feel you based on how you act and what you say, not necessarily by what you wear. And they're going to just be that shallow, then you know what? Send them out.
Right? I mean, that just sounds so silly. Get them out of here. I like that, Benny.
Here.
And you've also stated that radio is, in fact, not dead. Radio is important in creating stars. And is that really the case? Because, you know, a lot of the times, you know, people feel like, is radio like the main focus for record labels today? Because it just seems like they keep playing the same tracks over and over again. Where are those B-sides?
So I think mantra, you know, the narrative that we state, we sometimes we can become addicts to. If you say something over and over again, whether it's true or not, you'll start to believe it. Now, has radio shifted and pivoted? Of course. It's not the medium that is all that you need to be a star. There are a lot of different elements, you know, obviously streaming is important, touring is important, right? Staying connected with your fans are important, but also radio still has value. Who would have known, right? When you think about Taylor Swift, that the biggest consumption piece of content for her was vinyl, $14 million, right? Like who would have said that, right? Like who would have thought that? So most people will go, God, vinyl's dead. Like nobody's doing vinyl. Nobody cares. Like get it out of here. Well, you know, there are obviously she's one of the biggest artists in the world. It's a different recipe, but it's equally important to know that there's still value in all mediums.
And just because you kind of went on the Taylor Swift vibe, how do you feel about her Swiftie fans suing Ticketmaster because of dynamic pricing?
Yo, dude, I don't want to say nothing. Can we go to another topic? Like you gotta, like you don't want to faux pas. You don't want to do anything Yo,
Really? You don't want to say nothing about it?
Yo,
you don't have any kind of outrage over Chicken
Roc Nation? It wasn't me. It wasn't me.
There's so many other things we can talk about in the news. I don't know if I'm prepared. Let's shift.
We'll move on.
Okay, fair enough, Benny. But you started off as a promoter and then later morphed into structuring deals with artists. And do you view artists going independent more than ever today as like a disservice to their musical career compared to finding a record label to represent you?
It's kind of back to the question, is radio dead? What we are in a cycle and understanding in a time is that you're able as an artist to figure out what's the best fit for you. Mm-hmm. If you roll back 20 years, it was one size fit all, right? So, and that was the major label. But now the major label doesn't really necessarily want you if you've not put in the work, right? Because if you can't create a fan base on your own, then who are we to, right? They don't do artist development in the traditional old school way of bring them in, get them dressed, the other songs, right? Mm-hmm. Artists now have so much control of who they are. And if they're not able to at least get traction, you can't get your mom, your dad, your cousins, your high school friends to at least stream a couple tracks, then you're not ready.
Yeah, right.
You're just not ready. So in all seriousness, I think it's a great opportunity for the labels as well as for the artists on deciding what is going to be, the marriage and the fit for.
And I think it's really cool that they're allowing artists to be more themselves. I know Prince spoke out a lot about that, about them trying to keep him as that sexy image, especially when he spiritually evolved and went there, and how the record labels were trying to promote him in a certain way that was no longer him. So it's great to hear about companies that are allowing artists to be more themselves.
Well, Marissa, I'm going to play devil's advocate for you and Benny, because I don't know if you guys saw the video from Cardi B this week on Instagram, but she was basically essentially saying that making music isn't fun anymore because it feels like a job, and music executives give her anxiety. This is almost kind of like the same thing Halsey was saying at the beginning of the summer, where she felt like, I can't even get my song released unless I post a TikTok video. So when you hear this, what do you say to people, to Cardi B and Halsey that have this kind of disagreement with, social media and utilizing that tool to promote their music?
I mean, not knowing, let's be real, we don't know what, how long this anxiety has been building, but hundreds of millions of dollars later, she can have that position, right?
Yeah.
Thank you.
That's right.
I was just about to say that. I was like, when you got that kind of a clout.
Yeah, when you're one of the once again one of the biggest artists in the world, bringing in 8-figure salaries, then hey, listen, if that's how you feel, that's how you feel. But for everyone else, it might just be a different observation, on how they proceed forward. You might want to make sure that somebody's involved in giving you the direction that you need to hopefully become a Cardi B.
Mm-hmm.
Gotcha. Okay, that makes sense. I hear you out on that. And Benny, let's dig into the mind of a music executive. So how do you determine whether a prospective artist has the itch to be great?
Ooh.
So the piece of determining who it is so subjective, is because it's a vibe frequency thing. After you put it all, the talent together, like if you don't sound good, then it's probably not going to happen. If you don't perform good, it's probably not going to happen. If you don't have the confidence, it's probably not going to happen. But when you come with all of the things that are valuable, right, for your artistry, and then you see it, you connect with it, because it's not always going to be about analytics, right? Every star is not, when you discover them, on a trajectory of like millions and millions of sales. It's sometimes being able to look at someone, talk to them, feel their passion, and understand they may not be it today, but you're definitely going to be it tomorrow.
Oh, I like that.
I feel like that's the person that found you on stand-up comedy. She probably felt the same way. She saw that something in you, whatever that is.
The intangible, right? Mm-hmm. If given the opportunity, it's going to work. Yeah. And that's what people need, is the opportunity. And that's what you're looking for.
Absolutely, Benny. I know, being in the music industry for over 30 plus years, has anything changed from the 90s to now when it comes to discovering new talent?
Oh, I thought you were going to ask me if anything changed for me. I was like, yeah, I had hair at one point.
It's all good, my man. I still got hair growing on my back.
I mean, like,
yeah,
a lot has changed, Chris. A lot has changed.
I don't know, Benny. I'm kind of jealous because I mean, I obviously I like the hair on the top of my hair, but you know, all this back hair and shit like that. Trust me, you do not want it, my friend. It is no bueno.
Gross, Chris. Every time, gross, homie.
I'm just saying. There's a plus and a con.
They got therapies for that treatments, man.
You make
too much money if you don't like it.
Yes, it's called waxing. You can easily wax, homie. Okay.
Yeah, fair enough. Fair enough, you two. But what's like the number one red flag when it comes to signing an artist?
You know, artists who aren't really passionate about the career. They're just in it for the money. You know, I want to be successful. Like somebody just goes, I want to be successful. Not you know, I want my voice to amplify throughout the world. Like those.
Does the same apply when it comes to follower count?
You mean on social media?
Yeah, exactly.
You mean how many people?
Yeah, exactly. You know, some people, you know, obviously it starts off with, you know, hey, you know, I just want a huge following, but it's like, okay, that will eventually come when you produce great music. Have you ever come across any kind of artist during your time?
So think about this, and me being someone who, you know, who's just adapted and adopted social media, I have multiple chains of views of thought on that. If you're trying to curate 1,000 people who are going to give you $100, and you know you have a real rabid community, then that's great. If you're someone who wants to buy a bunch of followers that look like you have a bunch of followers, but only 2 people really care about you, and that works for you, that's great, right? If you're someone who's authentic and you've curated, like, you know, this true organic fan base, and one person gets you 7 people get you 100 people, and et cetera, exponentially, because they've all bought into you, and that works for you, that's great. So there's no right or wrong reason, but there's analytics now that you can determine who's what.
And yeah, and I know you're adamant about, you know, artists, you know, creating a team to support your music. Why is that so important today?
Well, it should have been important yesterday, but now that we're dealing yesteryear, but now that we're dealing in current time, is if you're in this business and this is your artistry and your artistry is your business, you have to understand that at some point, if it's about monetizing, then you need to be in position to understand as big influxes of money comes into your business. So if you don't take the time to learn and you only do just the art, or you don't have people who are delegated to make sure that you're protected, then it's all for naught, right?
Yeah.
What's the reason if there's no true spiritual or economic benefit coming out of you sharing your artistry with the world?
Yeah,
I'm loving your insight right now, Benny. You are an incredible soul. And, you know, I kind of want to switch gears and talk some industry talk, you know, because some of hip hop's most popular artists, such as A$AP Rocky, Future, 21 Savage, Young Thug, Gunna, to name a few, have been subject to a massive music leak that occurred earlier this week, with more than 200 unreleased tracks landing on a website called leaked.ck. And so what's going on? What's happening? I noticed a lot of Atlanta rappers were on there. Was the password like Slime123? Like, I don't understand. Like, how does this happen?
You know what? There's no real rhyme or reason. You just have to think about, like, when people are recording, it's still a trust business. Like, you're not recording yourself. You have an engineer, you know, you have people who have the hard drive. You know, there's just there's still exposure. Although people keep it as tight as they can in their circle, you just never know. So
are you suggesting that it was an inside source that would leak this kind of material?
What I'm saying is that's just disgusting that anybody would take someone's art and put it out without their approval.
Yeah, I mean, I totally felt for a lot of these superstar, you know, rappers in the hip hop scene, because clearly, you know, when the music gets leaked, it doesn't, you know, that viewership that could have potentially led you to the Billboard charts won't be counted now. And do you find this to be a problem moving forward? I mean, obviously, we're always talking about blockchain technology when it comes to Bitcoin, and what a clusterfuck that is. But should we start implementing that when it comes to music?
Well, I think it'll definitely go there. We'll definitely be in the blockchain space as time evolves in the music business.
Yeah,
So,
and cybersecurity, I mean, it's a real thing. Our government's getting involved even more with it. Music industry will. Anybody who wants to keep something private, even on our
exactly.
own home stuff. I mean, that's something that everybody has to be aware of and continue with.
Yeah, no, it's so true. But, but at the same time, I just feel like from my perspective, at least, it just feels like music leaks are more prominent within the hip hop industry. And from your experience, have you dealt with artists who purposely leak their own material? Because that's some of the stuff that people have been saying about this right now.
So, I mean, there's been ebb and flows of it depends on the season. You haven't heard much more because artists have taken control and know the value of the monetization of their music and putting it in the marketplace. So that is probably less of than it was as a marketing tool in the past, the leak music, get it first, those kind of things, putting it, I mean, that was part of the marketing at one stage or another, but times have changed. So until we get to the nit and grit of actually what's transpired, we just have to say, like,
I don't think it was a purpose leak. I think there's too many artists.
Yeah.
Nobody's making money off this.
No one's making money.
And that's where you always gotta look. Thank you.
That's cash now. No one's giving away for nothing. Like there's just no reason for that.
No, it's so true. I mean, I remember, with a lot of the rock and roll bands, maybe like a decade ago, it was always some jackass at like a Tarjay or Wally World who, obviously got the LPs coming into the store a month early and that he would leak it online. So, obviously that could be clearly the case. But since we've been talking with you right now, Benny, I know there's a lot of cats out there that would love to be the position that you're in. And so is there any advice that you would give to the CCS family about how they can set up their goals to be in the position that you are in today when it comes to the music industry?
Buy his book.
Buy my book.
Buy his book. Get you started.
That's the literal aspect of it, but also too, we're offering a conference because of that questions that's been asked of me from artists, executives, entrepreneurs, in my travels. So we put together a conference called It's Your Time Conference, which is going to be in Charlotte, North Carolina, MLK weekend, January 12th and 13th. We're going to do live auditions.
Nice.
Somebody will win $10,000 at the grand finale that I'm going to Zelle in their account on stage.
My God. No way.
On the 14th.
That is pretty badass.
We're going to have some amazing panels with industry titans that are coming. Steve O, the president of A&R from Warner's, Latrice Burnett, who is the general manager of Def Jam. We have panels on hip hop and spirituality. We're going to have how to get into real estate. We're going to have independent label versus major label, how to pick an attorney, how to choose a team, all of those things, and some really incredible managers and Grammy producers that will all partake in 2 days of panels. And then Sunday night, we'll give away that 10 grand to somebody who's, knocked the socks off of the audience and will walk away for,
Can people virtually tune in? Like, I'm not going to be able to fly out there. Like, if I wanted to virtually tune in, could I? Or is it only in person?
It's only in person.
Okay.
Only in person. But I will have, we will offer the digital package afterwards.
Okay. That I'll probably have to get. Yes. Excited, Benny. Dude, thank you.
That is so freaking kick-ass. And all I know is, Benny, you've been an amazing soul. And thank you again for joining the Chris College Show, Millennial Talk Show. And before you go, Benny, what do you want for Christmas?
Yo, dude, everyone to come to itsyourtimeconference.com. Itsyourtimeconference.com. And a repeat coming back to Chris's show.
Yeah, let's get it, baby, Benny. Oh man, you've been a beautiful soul.
Thank you. Definitely
Make it happen.
Let's get it, baby. Hey, trust me. I will definitely keep to that word, my friend. We've been loving you so much so far, and also got to remind the CCS family one last time. Where can they go ahead and buy your book on Impact?
They can go to Amazon, Barnes and Noble, and wherever books are sold.
Rock and roll, Benny. You've been an amazing soul. Thank you. Have a great weekend, my friend. And obviously, we were going to keep in touch, and I'll reach out to you in the new year, my friend.
Yes. Bye, Benny. Yes. Thank you.
Let's get it, baby.